Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Safari Live and to the beautiful Djuma and Arathusa Game Reserves here. Beautiful Djuma and Arathusa Game Reserves here in sunny Sand, South Africa. My name's Hayden Turner.
And I'm Scott Dyson.
We are here to take you around this magnificent place this morning, and what an incredible morning it is, mate. Check it out, eh?
It really is a beautiful morning. Quite cold relative to what we used to.
Yeah, 13 degrees Celsius.
And 56 Fahrenheit.
56 Fahrenheit. Got the jacket on this morning. Driving here, it was there was a bit of a chill on, so it'll be great for us. Good for a little bit prolonged cat activity, that's for sure. And he's got something to follow up.
Yes, some exciting news from the Djuma waterhole camera. Apparently, about an hour or hour and a half ago, a leopard was seen somewhere around the WildEarthTV Dam, which is very close to us now. So my plan is to head down there and establish if we can find any tracks and work out where this animal may be hiding.
We're longing for a cat. We've got withdrawal symptoms for a cat. We need a leopard. And I'm going to go down, and there was some lion roars last night. They were only half roars, or they weren't even roars. They were vocalizations from those Birmingham boys. They were just this small sort of vocalization, but we just heard it as we were about to close. And I went down after I left, and we crossed over to Pete, and I just couldn't pick up anything. But we're going to go down there and have another look around there this morning as well. So without further ado, mate, I think we go and have a really good look. Brian on camera there at the back, and Jason with me.
Morning.
The team, Alex in control. So without further ado, let's get out into this beautiful morning, mate. Have a great morning, guys.
Thanks, you too.
And we'll see how we get on. I'll talk to you during the morning. Okay, mate, and vice versa.
Cool.
Okay, mate, take care. Cheers, guys. So have a look at this morning, guys. There's just beautiful dew on that moisture over on the grass there, sunshine bursting through, absolutely perfect this morning. Clear skies, and we had clear skies last night as well, so hence the sort of cool morning this morning. It's definitely, temperatures changed, but it's still beautiful, of course, here in the African bush. It was a really great afternoon yesterday. It did a sort of a quieter drive, but a beautiful sort of drive, peaked with that sort of lovely interaction of the hyena at the end, and that beautiful interaction we had, Brian and I, with that big bull elephant, which was just great. If you've got any questions this morning, please ask. We really love your questions. It's the most important part for us of the interaction, because we are talking to you directly. You are with us. You're right here. And you're experiencing this as we are. So you can ask questions at WildEarthTV, or you can tweet us at #SafariLive. And I really put that reminder out to any educators, teachers, teaching assistants, schools, or any teaching body that wants to get their class involved. Please do it. We really, really enjoy it. And it's such a great thing to be able to talk to a group of young people, or older people at that, and answer their questions. That interaction is what Safari Live is all about. So I'm going to head that way. We're going to just go down. We're going to keep our eyes open. We thought they were in this block just ahead of us here, this sort of really highly vegetated area that we can't really drive through, but there's a little track that we went through yesterday. It's a beautiful morning to check out for tracks. I'll listen to the radio as well. Let's just go and see how we get on, and then we'll cross down to live to Scott as well and see how he gets on with that leopard. Really need some cat action. I'm longing for some cat action, but everything else as well. Everything else as well. So we just got the jackets on, the fleeces on this morning. It's a little bit cool still, but it'll warm up. Really great to have that waterhole camera on and get those updates from our Zoomies, our volunteers, this incredible team of volunteers around the world that coordinate themselves and have little slots of looking after the waterhole cameras for us. Just incredible. It's like you've got a spy in the bush. It's like a wild spy, you know. It's fantastic. So you guys, I really take my hat off to you for all your dedication, and we really thank you for that. So it's times like this morning when we get a report of a leopard at the WildEarthTV waterhole camera. So we always keep our eyes out for tracks on the road now. Any tracks that are on top of tyre tracks are going to be fresh. And what we do is try not to drive over them if we see them, so they give some intelligence to the other. There's these Shangan guys that sit on the front of the vehicles that are just like absolute masters at their job, and it gives them, it doesn't destroy the evidence if we don't drive over them. We can leave them there and hopefully all work together. Cats. But it's not just about the cats, even though it is Big Cat Week on Nat Geo Wild at the moment. It's about all the other things as well. If we came across wild dogs, absolutely really interesting creatures as well, and everything else that goes with it. I haven't seen giraffe for a few days. I'd really like to see some giraffe and elephant. Well, I never get tired of that. I can spend all day with elephant and just love it. A little stick caught under my car at the moment, which I'm going to have to go out and get out, I think, unless it just falls out in a second. Okay, this is where we saw the lines just up here the other day. I've just got to get out and get a stick out from under my vehicle, folks, because it's just dragging along and making an awful sound. When you're dragging them under your car, not only does it make an awful sound, but it's a sound that animals don't really know. They know the sound of the vehicle, but the stick dragging is a little bit odd for them. So you can end up scaring animals off rather than letting them know that you're just the normal vehicle. And it's really annoying to us. Right. Who knows where those Birmingham mail lines have gone. There's been some incredible interaction over the past sort of 3 or 4 days with us, with them. The buffalo herds have actually moved on a little bit. There hasn't been a lot of buffalo, but then again, last night when we were driving back, we saw some buffalo around, so you never know. Something really interesting that happened this morning to us. We were driving from the camp to here, and we're driving along, and these 4 lioness came running out of the bush and chased the vehicle. And I didn't actually see it out of the corner of my eye, but Jason was sitting on the back, and he said, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" And I said, "What?" And I was leaning in talking to Alex because we were driving along, and you can't hear sometimes when you're driving in an open top vehicle like this. So I leant in like this and I didn't hear him. I didn't see them. And Jason said, 4 lions just came out of the bush and chased the vehicle. And I said, "Really?" And I just reversed up a bit back to the corner, and sure enough, there was 2 lioness sitting on the road. So they're around. We just got to find them, but that pride back there was quite a fair distance from where we are now. Just going to head down to Treehouse Dam first and see. Actually, yeah, let's go this way. Such a beautiful morning, everyone. This is that sort of picturesque morning in the African bush. You've got spider webs that have got dew and little droplets of moisture all over them. You've got moisture all over the grass. Lovely, lovely morning. It smells beautiful, the fresh smell of the bush. Just lovely. I love this waterhole. Even when there's nothing at this waterhole, it's just so beautiful. There's always something. There's always birds or something going on. Oh, wow, wow, wow. A lovely giraffe just walking off here. Just going to pull ourselves around here, park up on the dam wall. There's always something. Giraffe feel a little bit skittish around water points particularly. We'll just stop here for a second, just let him settle down. Particularly at water points, because this is where they're very vulnerable. They have to get themselves into probably their most vulnerable position other than sitting down, and that's drinking, and that's having that head very, very low to the ground. It's a really beautiful shot there. Having a little browse, backlit from the sunshine, that morning sunshine. But this is the point in time when a predator would probably, if they were going to take on a giraffe, which is not that common, but some line do really favour giraffe, and they will try and take an animal, particularly when it's lying down or at a water point when it's drinking. They've got to be quite skilled hunters to do that, and it's a big animal to take on, and the giraffe has got a fantastic defense mechanism, and that is its kicking ability with all feet. And I can tell you, I think I might have mentioned it before, but I can tell you that I have felt the brunt of a giraffe kick firsthand. And when I was working with them in captivity in a zoo. So a little water, that's why. I just want to drive up here and just have a look at this waterhole. And just have a look if there's anything came down to drink here last night. Because these lions have to drink at some point, and this was the closest waterhole to them. Just going to hop out for a second. And I just want to have a quick look at the edge of this waterhole, folks, just to see if there's any line prints. So no activity there, but the whole idea is just to, it's like the Bush Telegraph, I suppose, or the newspaper of last night, and you can see what animals came down to drink. And we were thinking, I had a look over the other side yesterday, and just as a glance when we came down there, you can normally see a line track. It's very, very obvious. I'll give you a look just now at a silhouette of a line track. If they didn't drink here, I'm not sure where they did drink, so I think if we just carry on and drive around these roads and have a little bit of a look for any tracks that have gone around the road. I'm listening to the Game Drive channel as well, and listening to see if there's any news on there. And I'll show you, this is what a line track looks like. Just let me get this up for you. As many of you probably know, the difference between cats really is that the line track is much longer, obviously much bigger than a leopard. Can you focus in on that without the reflection, Jace? Sorry about that. I just have to pull in there. Okay, that's better for you. Okay, so this is our line track here, much more elongated toes there. It doesn't have that W at the bottom there. It's pretty much straight across, and much bigger. The leopard print is much sort of chunkier or rounded, whereas these are a little bit more elongated. And no claws again, as well as we've talked about before. Not like cheetah, which is this one. And this is where you can get these two tracks a little bit confused. This is the African wild dog. It's got a little bit more of a sort of a heart shape, an upside down heart shape, definitely, than the cheetah. And the cheetah's, out of all the cats, the cheetah's the one that's got that those toe claw marks, whereas none of the other cats, well, particularly the lion and the leopard, don't have any claw marks. And that's because that cheetah's got those semi-retractable claws, or non-retractable claws, some people refer to them as, and that's because they use those claws as like the equivalent of a footballer's studs when they have to run and get at speed to really keep up with their prey. But the lion and the leopard don't have any markings in their track of claws, because their claws retract fully back into their paws. So this is where the kill number 2. So we're going to just dodging around a millipede here. Up around this area is where they had all that activity. They killed one buffalo over on what we call the Gowrie mainline. Then they also had a kill just in the middle here. Then they had that kill that we documented that night, just on a bit further. So kill 1, 2, and 3. Kill 2, they left half of, which is interesting. They don't do often, but when they do, it could be because they just had a complete glut of food and had decided to move on for one reason or another. And we don't know what happened that night. We don't know what made them move on, what they heard, or anything. So all we can do is try and piece the scenarios together and think that they'd moved on, and where they've gone we don't really know. We've just got it. We had a lot of people looking yesterday. It was very difficult to see any tracks across the road. And that's what you can use the road for. You can use the road to see if there's tracks gone across or along, and whether they've moved in or out. Some of these roads, the rains have hardened the when I look out of the vehicle like this, folks, it's just because I'm looking at tracks. Keeping our eyes open. At this time of the morning, it's nice and a little bit lines. Excuse me, please. The activity of lions really does depend on where they are, what time of the year it is, and how much food is around. If there's a really amazing supply of food, like a load of buffalo, a load of zebra, wildebeest, impala, kudu, those bigger antelopes and equine, the zebra, the bigger prey species, they will rest for great periods of the day, up to sometimes 20 hours. But if it's not quite as abundant, the food, they will potentially be hunting more. But they've got a pretty good supply here. And then they could have moved on. They could have moved on to another reserve. I think that's what's so fantastic though about coming out on drive, is that the anticipation every morning I get, and I know the other guys get as well. This is what the feeling is inside. It's the looking, it's the searching. It's like, I don't know, it's like looking for gold, I suppose. It's the unknown, and what you find can be the biggest treasure every single day that you come out looking for wildlife. It doesn't always have to be these big species either. Just wondering if this is the site where they're gone. I was trying to keep open their kill was. I highly doubt they'd be sitting there protecting that now. It's like 48, nearly 72 hours. Is there tracks there, mate? What's that? Hyena. Jason just saw hyena tracks going that way. Yeah, going the opposite direction. Yeah, I can certainly smell the carcass, that's for sure. It's yeah, it's pretty on the nose, that's for sure. But they're nowhere around here. Yeah, it's going to take those hyena to come in and really remove that skin before anything else. There's no vultures around. It's covered in skin, and one of the things vultures rely on is the predators to pull back that skin so they can get that animal protein. They find it very difficult to get through skin, so they do rely on hyena and the other predators. it's old, but I'm just going to take a photograph of it for you guys because we can't get the camera angle down there, but these are line tracks. So if you have a look at this, folks, that's line tracks going the other direction, of course. But you can see the tire. Sorry, Jace, I might get it down down here for you. It's a bit easier, isn't it? It's a bit no reflection. So you can see the tire track there, and their line tracks just there. You can see how we talked about that elongated toe there, a little bit more ovular or oval shaped, and that back is much more straight than on a leopard, and then you've got elongated toes, whereas the leopards are a little bit more round. But they're the other day when we were here. You can tell that by all there's loads of different little pebbles inside there, and it means that it's either been thrown in by a vehicle driving past, or the wind breaking the edge of the track down. And you can start to decipher that those tracks are, well, we know that also because of the presence that we had when the animals attacked. I have to say, one of my highlights was, for want of a name, Blondie, that older male in the Five Boys. When he came past my vehicle the other night, I was absolutely in awe of that animal, and the look that he gave me. I knew that it wasn't a threatening look. He was actually quite unsure of himself to pass me at that. He passed me pretty much about that close to the vehicle, like only about a meter away from the vehicle. And when he passed me, he did a really courageous thing. And I was leaning on the edge of the vehicle like this, and just to sit back and take my arm off the edge of the vehicle, is probably a wise move for me, but also just to sort of not be completely overpowering over the top of him. I really wanted him to walk past me. I didn't want him to walk around that way, because I just thought, you know, there was a definite respect there, and not to the point where I was trying to get him to come closer, but to the point where he knows that we're not a threat, and that will allow us next time to stay reasonably close to them when they're either hunting or they're on a kill, or if they're just relaxing and socializing and sleeping. They will not find us a threat. And that's the whole thing about habituating animals. We're not doing it to try and push the boundaries and do anything silly. It's all about respect and habituating, but making sure we're still very, very aware of that animal's capability. So I'm just going to drop down now and see if we can just go around the other block that we were looking at and see if there's any word or any talk, and then I'm sure we need to cross over and see what Scott's up to. You never know what's around the next corner, folks. Okay, so I'm just going to edge down here gently. I drive under that tree sometimes, folks. This might need to be straightened up a bit more, Jace. Yeah, that's got it. Perfect. And then maybe a bit at the top as well. We've got our aerials on these flexible masts that if we do hit a tree, they can go backwards. And there's a couple of trees that have got very, very serious thorns on them, and hook-shaped thorns, and they grab onto it. So that's when I look up like that, and Jason and I have to just make sure that it's transmitting the signal as best as we can in these conditions. It's a little bit tricky sometimes when we go down into dips and things like that. But this is the area that I heard them in last night. Who knows? Yeah, so it's a beautiful experience to be very, very close to any big predator. I'm often fascinated by why that is as well, and I think I mentioned it a few weeks back to people, but my theory is that it's because we know what the potential of those animals are, and to be close to them is a primal, kind of a primal thing. We are only what classified as an apex predator, and the only reason that is because we invented this thing called a rifle or a gun, and that's the only reason why we can look after ourselves in that manner. We actually aren't that good at it. When you've got these animals that have developed over millions of years and beyond, they've had a very, very long time to deal with how to cope with being that apex predator. We don't do it very well. Us humans are a bit ordinary when it comes to that coping with the stress. And these apex predators like lion and great white sharks and orca and tigers in Asia and many other creatures, they have this incredible ability to hone their skills over a very long period of time. So I think for us, we pretend to be apex predators because of this thing called the rifle or weaponry, but really deep down we're not. And to be close to an apex predator that has developed over millions and millions of years, it's quite an awesome experience. You can see on for them. Really quiet this morning. Just going to give Control a call, folks. Just excuse me talking on the radio. I just want to see where Scott is. Control, did copy. Just confirm Scott's location, please, mate. And what location would that be, you know? Just finding out what Scott's location is, so hi folks, apologies about that. We just had a dropped out, and I really apologise. These things happen when you're trying to broadcast from live in the middle of the African bush, so I really do apologise, and thank you very much for sticking with this. I'm going to gently go over and try and find Scott. He's really struggling with signal this morning over where he is, but let's see if we can get to him. And I'm driving quite slowly, so we might just have to do a little bit of talking on the way. But it'd be great to have any questions that you've got. If you've got any questions about yesterday or this morning, anything in general, please got fantastic that class from Miss Jackie in Illinois. Little Gracie asked a question about the elephant, and that was just beautiful to hear. Really great to deal with classrooms and everyone else as well. Just checking to see how our signal is, guys, so please excuse me. Control, do you copy?
Of a beautiful male leopard that Hayden's on his way to. Sadly, we weren't picking up any broadcasting reception from this vehicle, so we stayed with him for as long as possible. He's just lying up not far from where we are. Hayden's on his way, guys, because our plan is now to head back to around the lodge area as we are coming towards this animal, which that's to it. While we were on our way to view this animal, we did hear alarm calls around the lodge area, and that would in all likelihood be, for me, I did manage to get a visual of Djuma the other night at the campfire chat, which was a bizarre place to be viewing a leopard from, but a really special sighting nonetheless. Having spent time guiding in this area for about 3.5 years, from 2008, we would occasionally have crazy situations like set up out and particular quality sightings. To have Djuma up that tree just 40 meters behind the guys was really so very nice. And here we can see Hayden coming down the road, so let's hope that his vehicle, old Zanele, picks up better reception than Giga picked up in that area, and it's just a matter of moments before leopard. The profile picture was right according to the pictures that I had seen, judging by the spot pattern just above the whisker line. It certainly did appear to be Mvula, and this specific leopard was apparently born in 2005. At a guess, which is about 20 miles, just under 20 miles, in order to get you. Let me make some space for Hayden.
Hey, buddy.
Where is he? He's just ahead. If you carry on down into the next drainage line, past the next road junction. So,
your first leopard.
Yes, it is. It was so good.
How beautiful! Well done.
Yeah,
man.
we got him mobile for a few moments.
Any vehicles? Down a road.
If you just continue straight down here,
you'll see the ground.
You'll see the Guarri bush, and then just north from there. Enjoy.
Leopard.
Good one. Mate. And I'm going to go find another one, just
good
to let you know.
Good on you. Yeah, keep it up, mate. Okay. Hey, cool. Guys, I think we all had a bit of touch of this morning.
We did. Yeah. We did indeed. The lucky porcupine, cool. Cool.
Cheers, guys.
So, like I said, it is very close to where we are now, and let's hope that he does pick up some good signal from where he is so that he can broadcast across to you, and we'll take it from there. It is heating up a bit, which is good. We were freezing on the way into work this morning. Each time we went through a bumpy part of the road, it was relief as opposed to kind of frustration to the bumpy roads, because the wind chill factor would then obviously subside greatly. But Nice to actually be cool at this time of the year because it is typically blisteringly hot and humid. Evening. If you are animals and you haven't seen a lion or a leopard for a few days, you could see a hyena track and kind of convince yourself that it's a leopard, or drive past a little stump, and your mind, because it really wants to see something, it contorts any random inanimate object into what you're hoping to see, and it can actually get you into some embarrassing situations. Once I remember it was my guest's final morning drive and they'd yet to see lion in their whole stay with me, so the pressure was on, and we had been tracking these lion for about 2 hours, and the guests, I could tell, were kind of losing hope in me, understandably so, because I hadn't produced the goods in a few days. And we came around a corner and I saw a herd of a group of what I thought were lion, and I stopped the car and pointed and shouted, "Lion!" and stopped, lifted up my binoculars, and it turned out to be a herd of waterbuck. So that wasn't great because everyone really got hyped up. Turned out to be a herd of waterbuck. So I don't think they ever got to see lion in the end, at least with me. They had seen lion at other reserves during their safari in South Africa, so I didn't feel too bad, but example of how the power of the mind can get you into some sticky situations. Alex, how's the HT's reception looking there? Okay, copy. HT, have you found that quarry branch? Sorry folks, it's just important for me to try and guide him into the sighting as quick as possible in case the leopard does get up and start moving. HT. Confirm he headed down a road. He needed to continue straight down the road that he was on in the direction he was heading on.
Left into the bush.
And then north, therefore left of the road, not right from where that branch is. Or just possibly correct him there. Okay. So apparently the Birmingham boys have been located. They are no longer on our property. They've moved off in a westerly direction where we don't have access to. But they are still all in one piece, and there was not concern but interest to know why they moved and what could have caused them to abandon that buffalo carcass. We don't have any solid facts as to whether a dominant coalition came in and chased them out, or if they just got a feeling that they had overstayed their welcome here. But that is typical for coalitions of young male lions that are flying below the radar and still establishing themselves. They do a lot of sneaking about, and I'm sure if they get audio of the dominant coalition calling nearby, they'll almost abandon everything that they have in order to get to safer ground. But they are safe, which is good to hear. There have been no casualties. But monument between different coalitions, and it sometimes can relate or result rather in death, especially for these youngsters that have yet to get that big padding in the form of their mane, that big protective helmet. Something that I've only seen on a very small scale, but seen quite a lot of footage of male lions in full swing, and it would be a spectacle to behold, but at the same time seeing another lion kill another male would be a hell of a thing to witness. Let me just check on how HT is doing. Good news, folks. HT is in position, so I'm signing out, and hopefully we will see you a bit later.
Well, we have leopard. He's a little ways off in there. Let's go let Jace pan round to see him for you. It's Mvula and he's a way off. He's actually in another reserve, so we have to stay exactly where we are. But Jace will just get him in the shot there. You can just... We'll just have to stay where you can see him turning his head right now. He's looking around. I'm just going to look through my binoculars. He's a beautiful creature. How magical is he? Mvula, I haven't seen Mvula for about 2 weeks now. And this is his territory up this side. He's looking like he's waiting for an opportunity there. He's a beautiful big male. And I know he's a ways off, but he may walk this way. We're not sure what he's going to do. It depends if an animal walked down where we are, he could potentially do that. He's looking around. Very alert. Ears pricked. Anything that moves in that area is potential prey for him. And that's a leopard's magnificent ability to be patient and just ambush or see the prey. And the stealth of the leopard is what it's probably its most famous trait, and that way it will be able to just go undetected in those beautiful sort of shadowed vegetation there, and then get within, you know, 5 to 10 meters of its quarry, and then pounce. It's just the king and queen of stealth and stalking. Well done to Scott. That's absolutely fantastic. He's found that. That's just, you know, what a great thing for him. He's been looking for leopard for days now, and to find this leopard. Really apologise about the signal breakup and the dropouts, everyone. We so apologise, but we just have sometimes the odd morning where the weather conditions or whatever it is, there's a gremlin in the system, and it will give us a little bit of grief. But we get round there and we get there in the end. But as we drove down here, Jason spotted this, and that's fantastic to hear and see. One, Jason. So you can see how tricky that is to spot. We're driving, I mean, it is a ways off. It's probably about 30-40 meters away. He's sitting. We're just going to sit with him and see what he does. Just going to give our control a call, folks. So if I'm just talking a little bit in the background while we're watching here, I want to try and let some other radios know about it, his location, and if some other people want to come and see. It's really important that we do that, so just bear with control. Control, could you get a message to just on Djuma, talk to Texan and Djuma radios and anyone else, just to let them know that we have a leopard sighting, and it is in Mvula, and our location, please, mate. Thanks, mate. Just because my comms are very, very bad from here, I cannot communicate from location. Thanks, mate. Standing by. Isn't that fantastic? I'm so happy for Scott. I'm so happy for all of us. And you just sitting at home, watching, or wherever you are, you know, virtually in the back of our vehicle with us here, to be sitting here with Mvula, even though he's a way off, we're with a leopard and we're in the midst of a leopard's presence. So this to us is just what it's all about. Safari Live is about these moments where you don't know what's around that next corner. And I was Scott was calling me in to come down because his signal was not very good where we are, so he said come down and check it out, and we just wanted to get these pictures to you, and we'll go to any length we possibly can to get these pictures to you about what's going on in the African bush here in Djuma and Arathusa game reserves here in the Sabi Sands. I just got a lovely question from, I just want to double check the lady's name, Control. Is it Tamira or Kamira? T for Tango or K for Kilo? Control, do you copy? Copy that, thank you, Control. So I just got a lovely question from Tamira in Shawnee. Thank you so much, Tamira, and welcome aboard. Really great to have you with us. Of course, the more the merrier on this wonderful adventure, and it's great to have your question. Tamira wants to know what's the main differences between leopard and cheetah. Well, it's one of those things, Tamira, that someone asked a question about the difference between an Asiatic elephant and an African elephant yesterday, and it's really good because you very rarely see those animals together. You very rarely see a leopard and a cheetah next to each other, probably only if in images in a book or on an app or something like that. But the cheetah is designed for speed, very, very different size, probably taller than the leopard when it's standing, and much more sleek and streamlined. Really big, deep barrel, sort of a chest with those massive adapted lungs and running gear, and built like a sprinter, but a long distance sprinter. When I say that, I mean sprinters these days in the human world are quite massive. But if you think about a lean, mean sort of athlete, very, very sinewy but muscular at the same time, but be able to sprint at very, very quick bursts, but not for necessarily long periods of time. Whereas the leopard is much more built for stealth and power. So I'd probably compare that to a middle distance runner. very thick set in the upper body and in the hindquarters, but a much more sort of all-round athlete. They have two different strategies. The leopard will definitely use its stealth, its ability to stalk, and its ability to find its prey by its beauty. Camouflage, lurking through those shadows and stalking like it's like watching poetry in motion. Really, it's just like so fluid. And then you look at a cheetah, particularly in its preferred habitat, when it's stalking through grassland or open savanna, and it does a very, very similar thing, very, very low to the ground, but its tool or its main attribute is its acceleration, and that acceleration can get up to 115, roughly 100 to 115 kilometres per hour, just over sort of 65 mile an hour, and burst at such a rate that not many animals can get out of that situation. There's, you have to look at a lot of the antelope that they do hunt, particularly some of the ones in East Africa, like Thompson's gazelle and Grant's gazelle, very, very fast as well. But if the ratio to the distance that the animal gets up to its prey, the cheetah gets up to its prey, is sort of in that no-go zone for the animal, it just can't escape that acceleration. So the cheetah's idea is to try and get as close as it possibly can and use that acceleration to overwhelm its prey, and that's how they work. The leopard will get into that same situation. The leopard has an incredible ability as well to get away from predators by hauling its kill up a tree. Now that's a beautiful adaptation, and that just goes to show you the strength. Pound for pound, the leopard is definitely the strongest and most impressive of the cats when it comes to strength. They will haul their kill up a tree and store it up there, which gets it away from predators like hyena and lion. Whereas cheetah, they don't have the ability or that strength to haul their kill up a tree. So what they'll do is they've got an incredible ability to gorge themselves on their kill very, very quickly. They can eat up to sort of 15 kilos, so it's under 40 pounds of meat in one sitting. They'll put down as quickly as they possibly can. That sort of like lion and hyena come and steal that kill off the cheetah. So not only those two things, but the markings are very, very different. The leopard has rosettes, which are like a circle or a beautiful sort of circular shape with a gap in the middle, which gives them their beautiful, unique sort of coat. And then the has spots, just black spots on that fur. That's probably the two main differences. The head shape's very different as well. Head shape on the leopard is much more sort of blocky and muscular, whereas the leopard cheetah is much more lean. The main differences to tell you there, and hopefully that sort of cleared up some ideas in your head between between leopard and cheetah are. Thanks for your question. Absolutely wonderful. I think there's a lot on a lot of people's lips. Has he moved on? He's laid down flat. So he's laid down flat. The camera monitoring for us. He's laid down flat. I think he's just flat on the ground. You can just see spots at the bottom of the screen. And he may pop his head up when we start the vehicle. I think we'll leave him be because we can't do much more than that at this point. I can't drive onto that reserve. We don't have traversing rights there, so I'm going to potentially go to Buffelshoek Dam. I'm just going to check with control and see how Scott's signal is, folks. So just bear with me. Control, do you copy? Absolutely, mate, absolutely. That's a great idea. Okay, folks. So guys, what we're going to do now is cross to Scott and see what he's up to. I was just listening to something. This is the tracks from Gowrie Dam. So we will just have a little look around over at him, and we're going to cross to Scott and see what Scott's up to.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the sighting of Mvula. I believe he is still lying down there, but what a beautiful cat. And the nice thing when they are lying down is you can often get a really good view of them. Interestingly enough, his tracks appear to have come from Vuyatela Dam, the Djuma Dam waterhole, where the leopard was seen at the early hours of the morning on the waterhole cam. So we've established that it is the same leopard that was seen at the dam. Nkomo. So he's been heading in a northerly direction, and when we did see him initially, he was scent marking. So very important part of a male leopard and a female leopard's life or duties out here is to ensure that its territory is very well marketed by these scent marks, and useful for me. The first time that I've seen him was this morning, but already I've got an idea of where he's likely to move. He's used Mvubu Road. From Mvubu Road he used Buffelshoek cut line. So in the future, if we ever find tracks or hear of a leopard being seen at Vuyatela Dam, I can kind of check that route in the hope that he will have used a very similar pathway to mark his territory. Now, I would like to try and show all of you, and especially Brian. Brian's very excited about the black mamba sighting that I had yesterday morning briefly with Jason on camera. And we know which tree the mamba slithered into, a specific cavity within a tree. So we're not sure if it's its home or if it was looking for food in there, but we are going to go back to that cavity in the tree that we last saw it slither into. And who knows, maybe we get lucky, maybe we can see its head poking out. So stand by, we are very close. So you can see that cavity in the tree over there, Brian, and that's where we saw him slither into, or her. Wouldn't it be nice if we just saw it coiled up, sunning itself in this morning light? But right now, it appears that there's no sign of him anywhere around, but the cavity is just in the center of the shot now that it slithered into. And I was hoping we were just going to see his head poking out of there. but no luck today. What I am going to do is just jump out the vehicle and show you guys how short this undergrowth was that it was actually managing to hide from us. And so it was quite scary to see that. It was probably a 2-meter long snake, potentially a little bit more. I'd say about that thick, and it was in undergrowth very similar to this, and we couldn't even see it slithering. Now if I walk there, you'll get an idea of how short the undergrowth is and how scary the fact is that it can disappear in such short undergrowth. I was expecting to see the kind of small little undergrowths parting as it slithered along, but let me just show you how short it is by walking there. So it's scary to think that an undergrowth this short, the snake could disappear, not only disappear, but move without us seeing it. Anyway, we will definitely keep an eye on this area because they are territorial snakes, the black mamba, and who knows, maybe we will get another sighting of it in the coming weeks. I was really excited to see that snake yesterday. For those who have been following my drives, I think I've spoken about a snake every drive since I've got you, and yesterday was the first time we've managed to see one, which was really, really good fun. And interestingly enough, this morning we saw tracks crossing a road of what looked to be a python of a considerable size. Sadly, we were on our way to Mvula, the leopard, so we couldn't hang around too long to check and see if we could find it nearby. But the snakes are active. It's that time of the year, the sun's out, there's a lot of rain which tends to disturb them or cause them to move from wherever they may be hiding or lying up. So this is certainly the right time to be on safari if you're looking for snakes. We're currently driving through the clearings where we've seen the wildebeest with all their calves, and also the impala lamb with the injured leg. However, this morning there's no sign of any impala or wildebeest in this clearing, which I was hoping to see. As I said, we haven't seen them for a few days. My plan now is to slowly make our way towards the buffalo carcass that the vultures were feeding on yesterday morning. It'll just be interesting to see how much has been cleaned up in a 24-hour period, and who knows, there might be still some vulture activity or potentially hyena activity on that carcass. Stations, just another update. HT is still with Mvula, east of Gowrie Main on Buffalo Cut Line. I saw some tracks across the road there. They were zebra tracks. I initially thought they could be leopard. I'm just going to move out of this drainage line, see if that helps you. Just going to have a quick look around at this road junction for any tracks. It is an area where a few different leopard do move through. Karula, Djuma. I've heard that Mvula also moves through this area, although we know where he is at the moment. But it's kind of a point where a few territories overlap. So I'd just like to double check that there are no tracks here. Nothing to report here for now. Just going to try and get this turtle dove here. No, it was at least a glimpse, but that bird is a Cape turtle dove. and we can actually hear one calling behind us. Kruk-kruru, kruk-kruru, is my kind of mimic of their call, and it's a very typical call of Africa. Some say it's singing work harder, work harder. Others drink lager, depending on your preferences. But it's a bird that we often hear around here, and you guys even back home will certainly hear it when we are in sightings, and I'll point it out when I hear it again. But I just thought it would be a good opportunity to show you what the bird looks like, who's responsible for that beautiful call. I've been wondering where Karula could be. It's been, I think, close on a week since she was last seen, and there were speculations that she could be giving birth soon. She was seen mating a few months back, about 3 months back, so this is the time when, if the mating was successful, she would be due to give birth. The gestation's typically around 3 months, 90 days, sometimes just more on that. And the fact that we haven't seen her, we could potentially read into it that she's busy raising 2 tiny fur balls. But we haven't seen any tracks or sign of her. Hopefully that will change soon, and also hopefully the idea that she has given birth or should be given birth is true, because wouldn't that be wonderful to follow her journey whilst raising these 2 new cubs of hers. From what I've heard, she's a very successful mother. I know of lived up to, well, one in specific that lived up to 12 years age, which isn't old for a leopard. It's actually quite young. She died through an injury she attained whilst hunting a warthog. She split her paw in half and she couldn't recover from that. However, in her 12 years that she was viewed, she raised, I think, 7 or 8 litters, or she had 7 or 8 litters, of which not one made it to adulthood. So it's not an easy job being a mother out here. Folks, we're going to switch back over to Hayden and catch up with you shortly. See you later.
But I think it's a really great time to be here, because it's not just one bull here that's dominating this pool. He's got a sort of harem of females in here at the moment as well, and they've come over from other dams in the last sort of couple of days. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 individuals here, a couple maybe underwater as well, and there was 11 here last night. So sometimes the the population, the numbers will differ depending on where they want to be, but at the moment he's got more cows here than he's had in a long time, and they're definitely staying underwater on this morning. That's heating up quite quickly. We've got some lovely buffalo in the background there as well, just getting the cool air off the water to try and keep themselves cool, because it is going to be a really hot one today. It was 13 degrees when we started this morning, 13 degrees Celsius, which I think was 56 Fahrenheit, and it's definitely changing rapidly. We just saw that. We just spent a bit of time with Mvula, the leopard, but he was on another reserve, sorry. So we couldn't actually go in and follow him, but he went flat, so we decided to pull back, and we'll try and catch up with him later on. We just wanted to come back over into Djuma and maybe head over into Arathusa and see what's going on over there. You can see that youngster with his head on his mum there, he or she. They're very tactile hippos, particularly when they're out of the water. They'll lay right next to each other, put their heads and bodies next to each other. They really do resemble oversized amphibious pigs in a way. That same sort of behavior, that they congregate together and socialize together. Fantastic creatures to watch. Now, some of the books say that, you know, they don't come out during the day very often, or it might be a really cool winter's day when they come out and haul themselves out and get a little bit of sunshine on the bank of a dam or a river. But yesterday, even on the waterhole camera, we saw this waterhole camera here at Djuma on this Viatella dam. We saw two hippos out grazing in the shade of the trees, I might add, but still, nonetheless, they were grazing at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And, you know, on any of those, there's always exceptions to the rule, and I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. Keep your eyes open always for animals. There'll be times of the day that the books and all the research says is the most likely time of day that they do this, that, and the other, the most likely weights, the most likely behaviours that you'll see, but those exceptions to the rule are always there, and we saw that yesterday, a classic example. The books will say that they only come out to feed during rainy times, or at night, or at the dusk, the early hours of the morning, or the late hours of the evening, but there's always exceptions to those rules. When they do come out to feed, they'll come out and walk up onto some really nice grazing areas where they find this lush green grass and utilise exactly what they've been adapted, or they've adapted themselves to do, and that's graze. That mouth is a fantastic lawnmower that just pulls up as much vegetation, grass as they possibly can, and they keep going and going and going. They'll feed out there for hours and hours, and sometimes travel, you know, up to like 5, 7 to 10 kilometres away from their waterhole, which is about about 6 mile. And what they will do then is make their way back to their water point. Now, again, exceptions to that rule. When grazing is very, very scarce and they do have to travel further distances, they will, up to 20 kilometres if they have to get grazing. They have to eat. That's all there is to it. They don't eat aquatic plants. They don't eat plants in the water. They come out of the water to graze. So if it's a time of drought, they will really go forth and try and find food at any possible way. Now, I have seen some incredible footage once of an elephant that had died. It was a drought situation, and I'm pretty sure the documentary was in Kruger. The elephant had died, and lions were feeding off the elephant. There was a crocodile feeding as well, and a hippopotamus was eating the stomach contents out of the elephant because food was so scarce. And this is where you'll see animals stretched to the limit of their ability to find food. So there was nothing around. So this hippopotamus was so hungry. The partially digested contents, or really roughly digested in an elephant, because they're very inefficient digesters compared to some of the other animals. The hippo was feeding off the stomach contents, the lion was feeding on one end, and there was a crocodile taking his bit on the other end. So animals will go to extreme lengths, and you'll see these extraordinary scenarios occur because they just have that will to survive. Okay. Lovely images. Buffalo just walking slowly through the water, and a little fish jumped out of the water just then. Just the ripples on the water just moving in front of that buffalo. It looks quite beautiful. Cape turtle dove in the background, you might be able to hear singing its song. Some people think it sounds like keep working. Keep working, keep working. Really quintessential African sound, a Cape turtle dove. And it just adds to this beautiful ambience when you sit around a waterhole like this. You've got a pied kingfisher off there in the distance, sounding off. That buffalo's about to lie down, I think. Oh yeah, very comfortable. Sorry, the slight little skirmish, but generally they just get on and inhabit the same area. Well, we might make a move. We might move in and see what else we can find. We've got an hour and just over an hour here. Lovely to see. Just sit at a waterhole some days. It's just it's a very peaceful thing to do in the morning. Really beautiful just to see what comes. You never know. You never know what's about. So a brief sighting of Mvula this morning. We'll try and follow up on that this afternoon. See if he comes back onto Djuma. Beautiful sunshine now. Still a bit of a loss about those lions. Just have no idea where they've gone, and I haven't heard anything on the radio either, so they may have moved through undetected. And as I said, some of these tracks are very, very hard to find on this hard road. Just want to take a photograph and show you these hippo prints. Have a look at that, folks. Get the reflection off that for you. There you go. So that's a hippo footprint there. It might look, there's a tyre track. There's the tyre track there. Along there, you can see how big that is. So if I just zoom in a little bit, you can see those 4 toes. The animal's walking that way, this direction, and those 4 toes on that hippo track. Very big, so I could have put my hand next to that, but just gives you a little idea of how those hippos walked through here last night in that wet or the night before actually. I might try and see. It's a bit hard for Jason to get a shot of it, but it's about the size. It's probably about that big, that section of my hand. That's about how big the hippo footprint is, about that sort of big. So it's quite a big footprint, very easily to distinguish. The little footprints are pretty cute. They're only about this big, you know. The little babies when they come out of the water, but they only come out of the water very, very quickly and confidently with their mother, and their mothers will keep them very, very close to their side for anywhere between 10 to 40 days in a little remote corner of the pond or the dam. I'd like to try and find some elephant. So I think we're going to cross over to Scott and see what he's up to. I'm just going to have a bit of a tootle along around here where I know we've got good signal, and also up in a back area where I know there's more animals hanging out this morning. And it's not always about the big stuff, as I always say, it's about the small stuff too. And let's cross over to Scott and see what he's got. We'll see you just now.
Okay, so the one that we can see, I think, is potentially the male, and it could well do a 360 once it gets to the top of the ball. No, they sometimes do that to get their bearings once they've fallen over. And there it goes. So that is the male. There is a female holding on to the other side of the ball that we can't see. And she's basically just being transported by the male. And I mean, that, oh, there she is. And it doesn't make the male's job any easier, rolling a round ball with a massive speed bump on the one side, but that's how they do it in the dung beetle world. It'd be interesting to know how far they've rolled this ball from. I've been looking around to see where they may have harvested the dung with which they would have made this close to perfectly round ball, which is hard to believe such a small animal can create such a big round ball of dung. And on the external layer they've actually caked it with sand to create almost a shell, and that keeps the dung inside relatively moist and fresh, so that when their larvae hatches they've got a larder of food to feed on within that bolus of dung. So I think what's happening here is that the female's waiting for the male to transport her to the appropriate neighborhood. Thereafter they'll try and hide the ball as much as they can, even potentially excavate a little bit of the ground and bury the ball into the ground a little bit, and then leave their young, leave the egg, and carry on with their lives. And then when the egg hatches, like I say, it will have a larder of food to feed on, and it'll feed on all the dung within that capsule of sand, and then break its way out and start its life as a dung beetle. There we can see a little bit of the 360 action. Once they fall over, in order to get their bearings and find out which direction they need to head in, they often do a 360. and all these undulations and small mountains that they have to conquer in order to get to where they want to go. I think it's worth us sticking around just for a few more seconds because they're about to approach quite a considerable bank relative to their size. So I think we will have an impressive roll shortly. It'll be interesting to see if they can both hold on once the ball of dung does start rolling into this little valley, you could say. Everything's relative, I guess. It would be a valley for them and just a small little dip or undulation in the ground for us. We can't see any of the tracks now on this section of road that we focused on, but we saw some tiny little hippo tracks heading up this road, so it'll be nice to find out where the owner of those little paws are, or hooves, or feet rather. It'll be really nice to see a little hippo. So we are in the area, we just behind Treehouse Dam here, so we will have a quick look shortly. It appears like the dung beetles may have called in for a tea break, or who knows, maybe this is the real estate that the female was hoping for, and now she's told the man to jam on the brakes and start preparing to leave this bolus of dung here. What will happen next? There appears to be no movement from what was initially a little hive of activity around that bolus. There we've got a bit of movement. There we go. That looks like the male on top. There we go. And action. A tiny bit of it. Well, there does seem to be a bit more activity here. It's not uncommon to see two males or sometimes two females with one of the respective genders on one bolus of dung. So you'll have three of them with either the two females fighting over the male or the two males fighting over the female. But finding three of these little critters on one bolus of dung is always an interesting affair, because you have some pushing, some pulling. Nobody can decide which direction to go in. But these two appear to be having an uninterrupted honeymoon, I guess you could call it, to a degree. Okay, we're getting very close to this embankment, so stand by for a potential tumble. It's just going to make itself around this next tuft of grass. Crazy to think that these little creatures are using buffalo often and elephants, using their waste in order to create a pantry or larder of food for their next generation. So a very important animal in the ecosystem, and ensuring that all the dung does get utilized and broken back down into, oh, there we go. That was what we were waiting for. I guess it was kind of a good move for the dung beetle, because it did roll in the direction that it was wanting to go. But now the problem that it faces is initially finding the ball of dung, which it's looking fairly lost now, possibly dazed and confused from the fall. But I'm sure it won't take long for him to find it again. It'll be interesting to know if the female's still holding on to the other side of the ball of dung, but we just can't see her. And once it does find it again, which I'm hoping is going to happen, the next problem it faces is getting it up the other side of the valley, because it's very steep. There's a lot of small tufts of grass which will obstruct its movements, but it was heading in the same direction that it rolled down, so let's see what it decides to do. It's thankfully managed to find it again. I'm guessing now he should climb up and do the 360, but it might prove me wrong. Hopefully it'll do this 360 to get its bearings. But no, this one's obviously got an improved GPS system, because he hasn't done it once. Whereas often they do the 360 to find out where they are. I think he's just having a word with the lady, seeing if she's okay on the other side there. There's an ant coming to investigate. It's really nice just to stop and have a look at the smaller things, listen to the birds, and take notes of the lives of these smaller creatures. They are all still busy and have plans and goals and requirements each day. Obviously it is difficult for us to follow them because of their size. We'll give it one or two more minutes and see what happens here. Seems to be slowing up a little bit. There goes the 360 eventually. They usually do it quite quickly and right at the top of the ball. There you can just see the female's leg poking out the other side, so she hasn't moved a muscle since the tumble, and she's just latched on, shouting orders, I think. Now this is when you do not want to be a dung beetle, because he has got literally a mountain to climb, and that strength relative to his size, I mean, just to get it that far, I'm impressed by. But he could be here for a while before he succeeds. We'll leave him to it. If we pass back this way, we'll be sure to have a look around. But I think that's enough dung beetle entertainment for now. And let's head out and see what else we can find. Like I say, we are very close to Treehouse Dam, so we'll have a quick look there, see if there's anything interesting around the dam, and then continue. Okay. Sorry, Brian. Just trying to get the best angle to get as many of these weaver nests in as possible. We may have to go around to the other side of the dam. But let's stay here for a little bit. The actors have been very, very active, and there's one that's just jumped into a viewable position, and he's halfway through building his nest, so I think we're very fortunate to be in this position, because I'm sure he's going to continue to be very, very busy weaving these blades of grass very intricately and with immense skill to create what you see on the bottom right of the screen. That's a completed nest, so quite nice to have a during and an after shot, what it will look like. There have been quite a few requests for weavers' nests, so I hope whoever has been requesting to have a look at them is watching this morning. And these are termed village weavers. They've got a very close cousin called the southern masked weavers, and they look very, very identical. But an easy way to distinguish between the two are the fact that these village weavers do nest communally and often over water. So that helps to guide us in the right direction as to which bird it is exactly. And the males are often very brightly colored, bright yellow, and the females are slightly more drab color. And interesting in that the males are the ones that build the nests, and once the male's completed a nest, he'll invite a lady across for a viewing, and if she doesn't approve of it, she often tears the nest down. She doesn't just move on and look for another date. She tears it down, I guess, to save any fellow females wasting time. Okay, can you try and get onto those ones there, Brian? It appears that we found a nest with a male that's just about completed, and we saw a female also just jump onto the nest. So he may have got lucky. Here we go. So that's the male we can see dangling there. He's doing some slight alterations, it looks like. And then, if we're lucky, the female will pop up. She did just a few seconds ago. And that way you'll get an idea of the different colorations. They tend to pop from one nest to the other as we zoom in on the one where we feel the action's going to be. But let's just, there we go, here's the male. Quite interesting how they dangle their wings down like that. And I think that does attract a bit of attention to them, saying, hey, look at me, I've finished my nest. Come and have a closer look if you're interested. And there is a female sitting nearby that is hopefully going to pop up. She's actually just landed about 2 meters away from the vehicle, but she seems to be giving the males a run around. There's a few of them chasing her. What's interesting with birds that nest in trees like this, or that can nest on the periphery of a tree, on the terminal branches, they often use the western side of the tree. This way they ensure that the last afternoon sunlight kind of warms up that little nest, and they go into the evening with a nice warm nest. So when out in the bush and you are not sure of your direction, there can be an indicator from you from the bush, and that nests are often on the western side of trees. There was a really beautiful specimen that just landed on this nest, so let's see if he gives us another show quickly, and it's an unobstructed view. Like I say, they're making our job a little, Brian's job rather than mine, a little bit difficult, because they're ping-ponging from nest to nest, and we're not sure which one to film. Incredible how intricately woven that nest is, considering they're only using their mouth. Oh, look at that. That was the view we were hoping for. So we got lucky there. We've just got a question through from Bobby on Twitter. Morning, Bobby. Welcome to the Weaver Nests. And Bob's question was that the weavers look very similar to the orioles. They do in terms of coloration, Bobby, and what I'll do is I'll get the book out to show you a closer look. But in terms of their anatomy, they are considerably different. Their beak, their body size, it's simply their coloration that is similar. And I couldn't agree with you more, but they aren't related in any way. It's just a coincidence that they are the same kind of color. And in a moment before we leave, I'll show you both species in the book, and that way I can show you the comparisons between the two, but they are in no way related that I know of, at least. Thanks for that question there, Bobby, and like I say, I will be able to show you the closer up kind of difference between the two birds. They also nest very differently, orioles and weavers. Orioles make a deep cup-shaped nest, as opposed to a weaved ball like we can see here, a weaved structure. Brian's doing a great work with the camera work and establishing kind of a routine here as to which weaver, because the weavers come and start building their nest and then head off to go and get more building materials, so it hasn't been easy to get in all the action. But here we have the black-headed oriole on the top right of the page, and Bobby, if you look at its beak, you'll notice that it's quite long and slender, and its body size, it's difficult to tell from this picture, is about double that of a weaver and slightly more elongated. And now that I flip over to the village weaver, which is on the bottom right of the page, you'll notice the beak is a lot more broad and less slender and less long. While we're here, I mean, have a look at the village weaver on the right and the southern masked weaver on the left. They look almost identical. They've both got black eyes, they've both got this black mask. It's simply their breeding. Assume that this is the village weaver, which nests communally. The southernmost nests solitary, and also on land, not overhanging water. But well noted there, Bobby. They are similar looking, and I'm sure from the screen it can be a little bit deceiving because you would have just seen that yellow body and black head. But in real life, if you were to have them next to one another, they would be considerably different. Okay. Very good questions just come through from Jan on email, and as you would have noticed, the hole or entrance into the nest is at the base of it. It is not at the center of the nest, it's at one extremity of the bottom of the nest, and Jan has showed concern as to how the eggs or chicks don't fall out of the nest. I mean, you can imagine if the wind blows, that certainly there would be a chance of that happening, and Jan, it does happen. The catfish which live in this dam, I'm sure, will feed on one or two weaver chicks, but the way that they overcome this, and not permanently, but they do have a slight wall or barrier leading upwards, so it almost creates a small chute or almost pipe-like structure, vertical structure, leading into the nest, and then the eggs and chicks are slightly below that in a very slight depression. So you could almost imagine a small funnel leading inwards into the nest that prevents young chicks. Oh, this is awesome. Look at this for a show. Sorry, Jan, but thank you for that question. It is a good one. There are a few casualties along the way, but like I said, they do create a kind of funnel leading into the nest that helps to prevent any chicks or eggs falling out. This individual's just arrived back at his nest with a new blade of grass. Look at that. Incredible. I mean, you could give us humans all the blades of grass you like and two hands with fingers that are going to definitely be easier in terms of tools to use than a beak, and we certainly wouldn't be able to come up with anything as intricate and detailed as this. And it really didn't take him long to weave quite a long blade of grass. I'd say the piece of grass that he arrived with was about 8 inches to 10 inches long, and within about 4 or 5 maneuvers it was all tightly tied up and bundled in the right places. Oh, this one's really got a lot of work ahead of him. We'll just zoom in for you now. But as you can see, the kind of top right of the screen is the beginning foundations of his nest. Still a long way to go. Really difficult to consider that initial foundation that continue building off. can see a massive vulture soaring in the distance. Hopefully Brian will be able to get a shot of it. It is in the vicinity of that buffalo carcass. We did go and have a look there, but well done, Brian. This is not easy, especially considering that it's behind the weaver birds. But it is that time of the day that your raptors and vultures, birds of prey, will be getting active. There will be a few hot air thermals that they can ride and therefore expend less energy when flying. So this is typically the time of day that they do start getting active. Like I was saying, we did go back to check the buffalo carcass that the vultures were feeding on yesterday morning, and it appears the vultures have done a good job at cleaning up that carcass. There was still a lot of hide over the rib cage, but it was evident that the vultures had managed to use those long, unfeathered necks, which are perfectly designed for getting into these tight gaps between hide and bone, and they seem to have cleaned out as much of that carcass as possible. There we go. The vulture's literally right above us now, impossible to film. But just checking us out. We sadly are of no interest to it, but it did fly directly over us eventually, which was quite nice. A question's just come through from Ria on Twitter. Good morning, Ria, and welcome. Ria's question was whether these weavers rebuild their nests on a yearly basis, or do they come back and repair old nests? The answer to that is that they build new nests. The females are very, very picky when it comes to their nesting site, and I'm sure that no female would tolerate an old renovated nest. They all like state-of-the-art modern nests, depending on which styles are in for the respective summer. And I think over a kind of 1 year period between seasons when they do breed, that the nest would lose a lot of its strength and stability, considering it is just made out of blades of grass. So the answer to that is that they do build potentially every year. Males don't like their first, second, third attempt. They will be ripped down and the men will start building again. The weavers try and hang the nests out as far as they can on the extremities of the branches, and the reason for that is to make it more difficult for snakes to get to them, and other predators like mongoose, monitor lizards. They will all definitely have a keen eye on these nests and be planning on how to get to them, but by A, choosing a thorn tree, which they are in, and B, being right at the end of the branches, it does make it difficult for predators to get to their nests. For any of those who are nesting closer into the main structure of the tree, they are risking being invaded by snakes. There's a specific snake called the boomslang, which in Afrikaans, or the Dutch language in South Africa, directly translates to tree snake. And as its name suggests, it lives predominantly in trees, and therefore preys predominantly on birds, both fully grown and young. So I wouldn't be surprised if not now, potentially in the next few weeks, a boomslang will slither into this tree and try and make the most of the potential food it has on offer here. The nice thing about the birding community is that you get certain individuals that are known as kind of the police or sheriffs of the birding community, and they do serve and protect the other smaller, less aggressive birds by attacking snakes or mobbing them. And they'll, you know, certain birds, I think of the crested barbet comes to mind, a really pretty bird, but really aggressive and bold. They'll fly in and bomb into snakes to try and dislodge them from trees and really deter them from any potential kills. So thankfully these weavers do have some allies in the birding community. Okay, well, it would be nice to come back and see the progress. Oh, a go-away bird just came in and landed. I thought we had a raptor coming in to swoop down and cause some trouble, but it was just a grey go-away bird. And if we're lucky, it'll do its call for us. It's a very comical quang, but it appears just to be eating the berries from a vine that's actually growing in this tree. They're fruit-eating birds, the go-away birds, and it's difficult to see. But it is targeting some very small berries from a vine that's using this thorn tree as a foundation to grow and search for light. I've just got an update that Hayden has found some wildebeest. I'm hoping it is the one with the herd with the youngsters. So why don't you guys go across and join him, and hopefully, like I say, the calves will be there, and myself and Brian will continue and see what else we can find. See you later.
Hi folks, well we've just been driving around this area looking for any more line tracks. We found a few, but they were a bit old, and they were definitely from the other night. It stumped us a little bit, still keeping an ear out to the radio, so always looking for that. And Vula, that leopard, we had to leave because he was on another reserve as well, and he'd gone flat too. So we'll keep an eye out and listen to the radio for all those sorts of things. But we've just been driving around now and enjoying this beautiful, beautiful day. The sunshine is starting to beat down now. It's getting very, very warm, and a lot of the animals are starting to find little pockets of shade. Now, the water that we've had over the last few days has definitely made the animals disperse from their concentrations that we had, in, for example, on that quarantine area and down around the dams and things like that. There's a definite new flush of grass, so animals are starting to move out into the vegetation a little bit now. But just behind me, we've got a group of a little herd of very relaxed wildebeest here. Beautiful, large, bearded antelope. They're just there. A lot of people think they're a bit clumsy and clunky, but they're not really. I tell you now, they can get along at great speeds and will fiercely protect their offspring as much as they possibly can. But we've got some beautiful little calves there as well. One walking into shot right now to see his mum there. And these calves are about probably a week and a half old now, 2 weeks some of them, just resting in the shade of that marula tree. Now the situation is that the sun, when it does get this quickly in the day, you'll find even some of the hoofed animals that can withstand the temperatures a lot more than the predators will start to find these little pockets of shade, and particularly when they've got calves as well, and sit down in a nice little protected area in smaller herds than they were before. When they've all had their calves, they'll start to break off into these small herds and go into the little sort of open woodland areas and just stay in their little herds. But there's some beautiful youngsters here, a couple of them lying down. I'll just move forward a little bit to give Jason a better shot. Just a couple of little ones there, Jace on the right, standing up with their mum. Really great to see these little youngsters having a nice safe lay down here. Little guy standing in the shade of his mum there. The other day we had, a couple of days ago, we had couple of the youngsters just walk right up to the vehicle because they have no fear. If their mothers are not running from us, they don't think we're a threat. So they were quite interested in finding out who we were and what we were. They walked up really close to the vehicles, but with a predator that would be a little bit of a different situation. Their mother would teach them very, very quickly to run, and that's what they're doing right now, is building up their strength. Their mum's nutritious milk. The mums are really feeding on this lovely flush of green grass as well that's come through with this last big shower we had. A really gorgeous little fawn colour when they're this age, and then they start to colour up and get darker like their parents as time goes on. So we might move on and try and see if we can see anything else. We've got about 25 minutes to go, and just go for a little drive along here. I'd like to try and find some zebra if we can. Zebra and wildebeest often hang out together. You get a lot of the plains animals or the hoofed animals that'll start to just congregate together. They don't necessarily stand right next to each other, but they'll congregate together, and that's a great advantage of having more sets of eyes. Impala, wildebeest, nyala, zebra, they'll sometimes just congregate together. But you never know what's around that next corner, as I always say. Doesn't always happen like that, but sometimes you will see zebra close by. Just watch my aerial here, Jace, for me. Thank you. Sure that's nice and straight, mate. Just have to straighten the top aerial up, mate. Yeah, that's the way. Perfect, mate, thank you. We just got to make sure that aerial all the time is in exactly the right position to transmit signal. And I really apologise about the dropout this morning. There's nothing we could do about it. We were working, the team were working tirelessly to get that happening. Really lovely female kudu here. just going to peek our eyes through here. I'm going to show you what she looks like behind the vegetation, so Jason can show you just here. That's how camouflage she is. You can just see her in there. Those beautiful ears. She's staring through at us going, "They can't see me. They can't see me. Just stay still." But we can see you, my friend. And you are magical. So down the side of her body. I mention it most times we stop and see kudu, but I just think it's really important to know that those stripes are not the same on every animal. They're a little bit like a fingerprint, like a zebra's stripes or you know, a human fingerprint. They're all different. They've all got different side stripes, and they serve the purpose of breaking up the body shape. You might be able to see on an animal just walking through behind there. You can't quite see, but she's got a completely different pattern of side stripes. She's much more nervous, that one. A younger female, not as confident. And this one here that's right with us, it's got that beautiful pattern down there. It just breaks up the body shape when they're in the shadows, and you can see how similar the stems of the vegetation are in the same colour as her coat. But those little, you can see the sort of shards of light going across her as well. It is, I'll just roll down a little bit. Let's see if we can get her coming through. Beautiful antelope. She's just stopped behind there. You can just see the sort of shadows on her there. Those stripes help to break up that body shape, and they can stand motionless like that female just did with us and go unnoticed. But they're a beautiful antelope. They're a beautiful antelope. The male's one of my favourites, with those massive spiraled horns, which if we do come across anytime today, we'll stop at again. Very, very hard to drive past. But she's on her way, and we might get on our way. There's a couple more in the background. Yeah, there's quite a number of them up there actually. Kudu, spelled K-U-D-U, and a fantastic looking antelope. It's found that little niche, that little spot. They're a browser. They can graze a little bit as well, but they predominantly browse, which I'm sure we've explained the difference between a browser and a grazer. And just so it becomes quite clear for you, if you're a bit unsure. Just back to where we were, the browser and the grazer. The browser is an animal that browses along the vegetation line, more like browsing from shrubs and trees. Just going past a little pump house now, so you might hear a little pump which pumps water from one of the dams. If anyone's picked up any tracks for lion, leopard, wild hyena, definitely. And also probably just have a bit of a look over on Arathusa today, which is another beautiful reserve that we're allowed to go on. And fantastic creatures for you to have a look at. And if I don't see you before at 4 o'clock our time here in Sabi Sands at Djuma and Arathusa Game Reserves on Safari Live, we'll be crossing over also onto Nat Geo Wild. And remember, it is Big Cat Week. There's loads to talk about. Jason and I will be back, Jason will be back tomorrow morning. I'll be back this afternoon. And from us, just in case we don't see you before we go, we'll see you later. Thanks for coming.
We were driving along and heard some Birchall starlings alarm call. They're actually the same birds that I heard alarm call yesterday, which led us to find the black mamba. And there is a vervet monkey sitting up in the tree where they are alarm calling. And I